Hi, quick video about strategic voting and quote-unquote wasting your vote. Basically, we shouldn't even be having this conversation. We're having this conversation because the Liberals openly broke that promise of electoral reform in 2015. So for everybody who voted strategically in 2015, knowing that they would get electoral reform, already that's one example that strategic voting doesn't always work out for us, but it works out very, very well for the Liberal Party. Anyways, strategic voting, it is basically what the Liberal Party is trying to induce in the voters is something called fear-based decision-making. Fear-based decision-making occurs when a person makes a decision not because of what they want, but because they want to avoid anxiety. They want to avoid a situation that they're in, right? So the situation that, of course, we're being persuaded about right now is how terrible it will be if the Conservatives win. And I'm not saying it's going to be a bed of roses, but basically you have to be careful because fear-based decision-making, it's different than target-based decision-making. Target-based decision-making occurs when a person decides that they want something and then they go get it, or in this case, they vote for it. Fear-based decision-making, basically, in this case, we're kind of being manipulated, or there's an attempt to manipulate people by hijacking our amygdala. Because if the Liberal Party can, by releasing videos and that sort of thing, and just the whole fear concept, if they can make people anxious enough, then a person's amygdala, which is a more primitive part of the brain, will get involved, and that will induce a fight or a flight response. So basically, the person will, to decrease their level of anxiety, what do I have to do to reduce my level of anxiety? Oh, okay, if I just vote Liberal, that will reduce my level of anxiety. Okay, now I'm good. Of course, I'll still feel anxiety until October 21st. And if the Conservatives do manage to win, then they might feel anxiety after October 21st. I'd argue that this is grossly unethical, but it's a very successful strategy, unfortunately. And so parties that may or may not be intellectually dishonest and unethical may use them. And that's what's occurring here. We should not be using fear to compel anxiety in people. We should be running on our record if we've been government, and we should be running on our party's platforms, and including achievements. One other piece about strategic voting is that one thing that you may not hear, because what you will hear is the NDP and the Green will take votes away from the Liberals. And well, I can't speak for the NDP, but I can speak for myself. I know I'm getting votes from the NDP, the Liberals, and the Conservatives, because many people are not happy this election. So, and I'm not saying that to brag at all. I just want to make note that it's not just the Liberals where I'm finding votes. I'm finding votes from three parties, maybe not the PPC, but the other three. Basically, yeah, so that's about it for strategic voting. I just want to say something quickly about wasting your vote. So you may also hear that you're wasting your vote if you vote for the Green Party, for example. I would argue, don't waste your vote on people who might be really, really nice, but they represent a party that either barely pays attention to climate change, or they say great words about climate change, and then they buy a pipeline. Not too sure how that works out. We actually bought the pipeline. They continue oil and gas subsidies to a tune of $1,600 per Canadian per year, and or they support fracking, because both the Liberals, Conservatives, and the NDP support fracking, and fracking, liquefied natural gas, has the same greenhouse footprint as coal. So that, I would argue, is wasting your vote. All of us candidates, we're pretty nice people, but this year of all years, with climate crisis doing what it's doing, and where we're headed with it, this year of all years, a vote for a candidate, even if they're really super nice, including myself, but that vote also must be a vote for the person's party and the person's party's platform. So, and if the party has, if the platform involves action, or relatively speaking inaction, or is not going to get anywhere close to our targets, then I would argue that I mean, it's a decision that you have to make. What I can offer that no other party can offer is that my vote will never be whipped. It's Green Party policy that I will only vote in accordance with my constituents' wishes. I want to offer, like, I've already served basically my adult life, first in the military for the first 23 years, and now lately just to my patients in the community. Please consider voting for me because I have an excellent work ethic. I won't be outworked, and I have a very highly developed sense of ethics. I want a chance to help out for Canada Carleton, especially for climate change, but also so that we can all have things that we should have had decades ago, like pharmacare, childcare, affordable housing, and get climate crisis nipped, not really in the bud. The horse has kind of left the barn, but at least to mitigate the damage as much as possible. If you don't like what you see, you can vote me out in 4 years. And please, just give me a chance to make this right. Thank you and have a good night.